Evaluating expressions using order of operations. To introduce this to us, we've got a sheet of paper, and if you don't look at the shadow, all that is just a sheet of paper. But if you look at the shadow, the paper's bent in such a way that you've created a face. And it's pretty incredible that just a little bit of wrinkling in your paper can make it look like a part of a face or a silhouette. When you're talking about order of operations, you have to remember the basic pieces. First, you have parentheses. Parentheses can either be the rounded parentheses we're used to, or the more squared off brackets. Both mean the same thing. After you've completed all operations inside your parentheses, you'll next turn to your exponents. The next two operations are paired together. Multiplication and division, they've been BFFs since kindergarten, and they're really, really nice to each other. So because they're so nice to each other, they always go left to right. Whichever one happens first is the one you do first. Very same thing with addition and subtraction. They really like each other. They hang out together all the time, so they're not going to really care if one goes first sometimes and the other goes first another time. Whichever one happens first, left to right, is the one you perform first. There's two ways to remember the order of operations, or two common mnemonics. The first one is PEMDAS, and that simply takes the first letter of parentheses, exponent, multiplication, division, addition, subtraction, and turns it into kind of a nonsense word. So PEMDAS is a good way to remember your order of operations. You also have the mnemonic, please excuse my dear Aunt Sally. That's another very common one. In both cases, remember that you are putting addition and subtraction paired together, and that you are putting multiplication and division paired together. Let's look at this problem. Order of operations, I'm going to write PEMDAS at the top so we can keep track of our order. Order of operations says we need to do our parentheses first. Well, inside the parentheses, I've got subtraction and multiplication. So by the order of operations, I'm going to have to get rid of my multiplication before I get rid of my subtraction. So I'm simply going to rewrite this line and take out that multiplication piece inside my parentheses and leave everything else the same. 4 times 2 is 8. So that eliminates that inside piece of multiplication. I still have not completely eliminated inside my parentheses, so I'm going to go ahead and do that with my second step. Taking 12 minus 4 leaves me no other operation, so I no longer need my parentheses. Now my parentheses are done. I don't have any exponents in this problem, but if I did, I would perform them next. At this point, I've got multiplication and division that I'm going to do next. Here I've got division, here I've got multiplication. So I'm going to work that left to right. So I'm first going to take 24 divided by 4. Next, I'll finish out that step by performing my multiplication. Addition and subtraction, I'm going to work those left to right as well. In this case, addition shows up before subtraction. So that's going to give me 18 minus 8, which leaves me with a final simplified answer of 10. Your turn to try this problem. Pause your video and try this problem on your own. Did you get 17? If you did, give yourself a mustached smiley face. Mine kind of looks like a cat. Hopefully your mustache looks a little better than mine, and hopefully you got it right. If you didn't on the first try, give yourself an X. Once you figure out your mistake by either checking your work or going back and trying the first example again, circle around the X. Looking at a second example, this one we do have some exponents in here. First step, I'm going to do my parentheses. Well, I've got a whole bunch going on inside my parentheses, but wait a second. I've got an A. Oh, okay, this one's a substitution problem. I'm going to take in 2 and put it everywhere that I have an A. So I'm going to rewrite this first as 3 times 2 cubed minus 7 times 2, the whole thing squared. Order of operations, parentheses first. Okay, inside my parentheses, I've got a lot going on. But let's see, parentheses, next comes exponent. So I want to do the exponent inside my parentheses. So 2 cubed, that's 2 times 2 is 4, 4 times 2, 4 times 2 is 8. So that leaves me with 8. Next step, inside the parentheses, I'm multiplying, subtracting, multiplying. I can go ahead and do both of those multiplication pieces next. So that leaves me with 24 minus 14. And I'm going to square that still. 24 minus 14 leaves us with 10. At this point, I don't need the parentheses any longer because I've completely eliminated all the math kind of stuff going on inside of them. Now, I simply have 10 squared, and 10 times 10 is 100. Your turn. Substitute 6 in for W and try this problem on your own. Make sure to pause your video. Did you get 162? If you did, give yourself a star. If you did not, go back and make sure you were using your order of operations correctly. Put an X for now, but once you figure out the problem, circle your X. Here are your 3 homework problems. Make sure you show all of your work. For these problems, the X's will represent multiplication, not a variable.